settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast with your boy Devan. And today we are honored to have a powerhouse guest. He is Richard Walsh with over 30 years of experience in the entrepreneurial space. He is a best-selling author, a renowned coach, and he is the mastermind behind Escape the Owner Prison, a transformative guide for business owners looking to scale, regain control, and to create a balanced life. He is a former Marine, a champion boxer, and a black belt. And honestly, I already know with all of his experience from raising his kids and from his triumphs in the 08, financial crisis, that we're going to have a knowledge-filled episode. So make sure you break out those notebooks and let's get to it. Richard, thank you so much for coming on today.
Devan, great to be here, man. Thanks.
So, let's dive in a little bit, before we get into the nitty gritty, right? Because, your resume, of your background is all over the place in just awesomeness, right? From being a Marine to, boxing. And, we have the, I'm not a Marine, but we have the boxing and fighting in alignment. I was also black belt as well. So, there's some cool things I want to dive into that,
Nice.
So let's start from, your bring up, so how was your childhood and how were you brought up and how did you get into martial arts and, that whole space?
Yeah, I was brought up by a dad who worked hard, a mom who raised us, she was at home. My dad worked a lot. It was good. It was not so good. It was, I've done a better job as a parent than mine had done, but they were young and all that other stuff. So there's no bitterness there, but it was challenging to say the least. We moved a lot, like 30 times before I got out of high school. So I get used to adapting quickly. And I don't get attached to things.
Okay.
So, and has served me well, actually. I mean, I am attached to my wife for 25 years and my kids and everything else. So that part I overcame. That part's good. But yeah, so it was really, it was interesting, like I said, we moved a lot, did a lot. I went in the Marine Corps at 17. I kind of moved out of the house at like 16. I was working a lot and everything then, graduated high school, went in the Corps, and then I did that for 4 years, got out and kind of started my entrepreneurial journey from there. The boxing started after I got out of the Marine Corps. So I'm working, doing all this. Hey, I had a buddy who boxed. And I said, hey, I want to box. So I went down. He goes, well, come on down. So the first day I go get in the ring, and his name was Dave and nicknamed Crazy Dave. Okay. He was about 6'3", 6'4". I'm 6'2". He was about 240, a little under 10% body fat, played with 350 on the bench like it was a toy. Okay. South London kickboxing champion. Okay. And stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'll get in there. So it's just because I get in, can't lay a glove on him, right, Devan? You're chasing him around. And he's just, boop, boop, he's slipping. And I'm like, dang, then he just stops and looks at me and pops a jab, breaks my nose, So I'm like, oh, so I'm going, I'm bleeding and stuff, So we get into the second round and he looks again, pop was a left hook, Devan, my mouthpiece out of my mouth, out of the ring and across the gym. Okay. Some little kid ran up and gave it back to me, and I'm like, whoa, man. I'm like, I couldn't chew for like 3 days. So pretty much it was over then. Right. So I had 2 black eyes, got the busted nose, can't chew. So we both worked at a bar. I was an assistant manager at this huge college bar. And I walk in, the GM goes, he's like, what happened to you? I go, I was sparring with Dave. Well, you can't do that. Like work here and stuff. I go, well, I'm going back tomorrow. What do you mean? I'm going back tomorrow. I'm going to get better at this. I don't need to work here. And that started the whole journey in the boxing thing. Then became a champion, gold gloves, all that stuff, it was really great. Then started doing Taekwondo years after that, about 2.5 years, 5 days a week. Got my first degree, black belt in that, which is cool. It didn't equal boxing at all, to be honest with you. Boxing's just, it's a sweet science. You know, I mean, you're really trying to put someone to sleep. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I definitely have some similar war stories and stuff. You know, my black belt, it was Taekwondo based, but my instructor, the owner of the gym, he basically came from that Taekwondo background, but we did jujitsu, we did, you know, kickboxing and Muay Thai and all so it was basically an MMA twist off of a Taekwondo, you know, black belt. But definitely those stories of, you know, all of a sudden having to go to school or having to go to work with a black eye or a broken nose. I know you can't tell right now, but like when you see me in person, you know, my nose isn't straight, so it like kind of curves to the side a little bit.
Well, this is, dude, I have plates and wires. This is a new nose. 7 breaks detached from my face. Okay. The whole cheekbone is gone. Right. So they had to put all this stuff back together, redo that. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. But you wouldn't think I could be this pretty.
Yeah.
With all that surgery, right? Yeah.
I know I actually got my nose broken, had surgery on it, you know, to realign it and stuff. Had a Muay Thai competition, broke it again. You know, I was like, I'm over it. But let's dive in a little bit. I mean, so what let's rewind a little bit. Why did you join the Corps?
You know, well, funny story, Devin. I actually tried to join when I was 13.
What?
So I went I was a big kid. I was like 6 foot 180. So I go because I want to get away from home. And so I go to the recruiter, and I really wanted to be a Marine. It was kind of something I wanted to do. And I'm like, so I'm talking to him, and a couple minutes goes by, and he leans over and he goes, "So how old are you?" And I go, "Well, I'm 13, but I'm ready to go." It's like he gave me some stickers, said, "You come back when you graduate high school, we'll get you right in." And so I did. So, but yeah, I always had that drive I'm a protector. Okay, that I didn't know that till, you know, way later, but there's just that thing, right? If someone was being bullied, I took out the bully. I don't know why, I just did. I just couldn't handle people being, you know, I'm that guy, you know, so that was kind of part of who I am. So I thought the Marine Corps, there you go. First to fight. We're going to the worst places in the world. I said that's me. I want to go, you know, so that's why.
Well, thank you for your service. I mean, it's definitely not something I could say I'd done, but I admire it so much. You know, I've had friends that are, you know, serving and stuff. So it's a huge honor to those that do. You know, now that you came out of, you know, the Corps, right? You're getting into boxing, you're working at the bar. What was your first step into entrepreneurialism?
So my very first job was out of the Corps, was swinging a pickaxe, digging trench for cable down in Tucson, Arizona. So literally like all day swinging a pick and just digging an 18-inch trench. And then this guy came up to me, wanted me to do some side work for him, wanted me to move this big pile of gravel from the street to the backyard. It was 35 tons worth. I said, I can do that. So I spent my last $85 before payday on a wheelbarrow and a shovel. Showed up, man, knocked it out in like 10 hours. You know, took it all to the back, spread it. He came out, Devin, and put $1,000 in my hand. And I'm looking at that because I'm working for $5 an hour.
Right.
At the pickaxe swinging job, right? This 80s, right? And I'm like, dang, I know my future. I said, I'm getting all the money. I said, I'm working for myself. So I started a landscape business, you know, then shortly after that, you know, on the side, changed jobs from that to the bar thing and stuff, doing that as that was beginning to take off. And that was the beginning of the entrepreneurial journey. And it was great. Yeah. Then that became custom water features, steel sculpture, custom steel sculpture. I did end up doing world-class exhibits with that stuff. And I built over 1,000 of them. And yeah, it was #1 in the whatever. And it was cool. Yeah.
So you got into like sculpturing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So I started saying, hey, I want to kind of make sculptures, you know? So I just taught myself how to weld. Used a torch, started heating, bending metal, and stuff got bigger and bigger. And then I'm in these shows, and like I got a commission from the Shedd Aquarium in Chicago. I built this thing, was on Michigan Avenue for 6 months. And then the Garfield Park Conservatory was doing the most cutting edge exhibit in the world on photosynthesis. Right. They're building this thing. It's a big, like 6-year project. And the designer was having trouble finding someone to do what they needed. And they called me for the water feature work inside this place, right? Saw on their glass. And then my office manager's like, well, you know, he does sculpture too. So he went to my website and he goes, this is exactly what I designed. I didn't think anyone could do this. So boom, I got this whole big project. We did all the work. It's amazing. It's a permanent exhibit. I did all Corten steel, it lasts forever. And, but it is an amazing exhibit. And I did like everything in there. Right. It's spectacular. So that was really, really cool. So that's, internationally recognized and all this kind of cool stuff. So yeah, I was lucky, Devin, from the artist standpoint. I never experienced the starving artist. I sold everything I made. So
Wow.
just the business side of me was good. So it's very functional, very unique stuff I did, but it was also very in demand.
So at what point did you realize that, creating the sculptures or creating sculptures was going to become a business, or when you realized, hey, I should really hone in on this and let go of your normal job?
Yeah, well, it was so I've got the water feature business going, right? That had
Mhm.
been going for years, so I'm doing really well at that. And I just started welding. I made little flowers, and I made bigger flowers, and then I'm doing these big shows at Navy Pier, making these giant gardens inside for the flower and garden show. I said, well, I'll do this. I made one, like a big walk under waterfall, really cool thing out of steel, and it was just a massive hit. Like people were digging it. The first one I did was this big abstract lotus, and the next year I did that, and then so that like put me on the map. All of a
Wow.
sudden, 180,000 people came through there and saw my work in like a week, so it was like, wow, this is super unique. And so I just kept going, and then they approached me for this project and that project. And I started doing all this stuff. So it was fun. So it was just, I love to create, but I also love business. And I'm like, well, I want to create and make money.
Hmm.
That was my thing. So how do I make something? And like, I didn't make it. It's weird because I didn't make it for the money, because I just make it to make it, but then I get money for it.
Hmm.
Because if I attach like money to it, it kind of ruins my creativity.
Hmm.
It's kind of weird. I'd rather
No,
make something in the shop, throw it out the door, let someone else sell it. Shut the door and come back to it.
no, but I think actually what you're saying though is actually a really big piece of what people lose in the true spirit of entrepreneurialism, right? Like, yes, it is about sales, and yes, it is about making money. But when you start a business to make money, and that is your
Right.
sole purpose and focus, then that motivation is only going to last so long. And that reward, it's cool, but then it's like, what else? When you can make a passion or something that you at least enjoy, and you're doing it for the enjoyment, right? My main business is I own a gym and a national franchise, right? And while growing the franchise is awesome, my main purpose is affecting the lives of the actual members, right? So it's like, for you, it's like that artistness was the true creative side of it, the fun side, and then you made a business around it. Can you explain what water features are for your first business, before for listeners that don't really know what water featuring is?
So they're picture waterfalls, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a backyard waterfall. There's stone, there's boulders, there's water running everything. There's fish in the pond. You've got all this. Well, I started in like 19, I started that in like 89, 90. So it was not real popular. It was kind of the very beginning of that whole kind of trend, if you will. And I just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I'm like, I want bigger boulders. And the artist really came out in that. So picture like if I built this water feature in your backyard, when I'm done, it looks like it was there before the house.
Wow.
Okay. It looks like it's part of, like, you saw this cool water and you said, let's build a house by it.
Wow.
That's what I did. And stuff was massive stuff. I did giant, like quarry, like swimming pools, all the walls were all boulders, giant boulders, brick paper bottoms, salt water, all this stuff, so I did quite a bit of that stuff, all different sizes and shapes and different stone. Like I said, I brought in stone from all over the country to build different things. So it really was a great creative outlet. And from a business standpoint, it was very, very lucrative, very lucrative.
At any point, did you intertwine the businesses, where you made a sculpture and had it intertwine into a water feature?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Most of them were like that. So I'd make like stainless steel flowers that actually water bubble up from the stems and stuff, things like that. Or like I said, the walk under waterfall. One of my clients had a train that went around his tennis court, the kind you ride on like at the parks. And he had that and he wanted to go underneath that waterfall, like behind, it was really cool. So I built that, put the tracks in, and did that kind of stuff. So, into a pond and everything. It was really cool. So yeah, we did quite a bit. I'd sculpt these bridges and put them into islands and stuff like that. So I was able to really incorporate it into all my work. They could be standalone, but really when I joined them together, that was really impressive.
And I think that's a huge aspect and a huge thought that you had too, because entrepreneurs, and I don't know if you were this way, but I could say most entrepreneurs, there's almost that like grass is over, green over here, or that shiny new object syndrome. So, you think especially in today's day and age, you know, you have to own 10 businesses and they all are in different industries and so forth. Whereas like someone like you had your water feature business, then you had your sculptures, and then you intertwine them. So you're building these, you know, business verticals that aid each other's growth.
Right. Yeah, exactly what you want to do, because, you know, when you talk about entrepreneurship, I guess the maybe the technical term is buying and selling businesses.
Mm-hmm.
That's like really, so if when you talked earlier about the money, if you're in it just for the money, that's what you're doing. You buy a business, maybe you scale it up a little bit, or you systemize it and you sell it and go to the next one. It just becomes it's a tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just a way to make money. You get in for 18 months and you sell it and make it better, and you get it and do it again and again and again and again. And that's a different animal. That's not who I am. That's not who a lot of entrepreneurs are. You know, so I use the word, but I also use business owner. Like when you're a business owner, it's a little more emotional. There's a little more attachment to what you're doing. You're usually a craftsman or someone who's really good at one particular thing. Like if you got the gym, like I owned the gym. I was a great trainer. We created a boot camp style training with phase progressions, like a belt system, all body weight. You know, we just created something really unique because I love that stuff. I was doing it all the time. So I'm like, well, we got blouse boots. We got all Marines working as trainers, man. It's just, you come and you just sense pain. It was amazing. Okay. There's nothing in here. This is going to be bad. You know, so it was really great. You know, so we enjoyed it. We loved it. So that part of really enjoying what you do is a really big part of it, but you also have to be business wise.
Yes.
You have to be sharp that way. Otherwise your little passion is going to get snuffed out in about 12 months. Okay. So you got to really understand, like there's two sides of this coin you got to play. You don't get to be on one side or the other. You got to kind of play both sides, right?
Yep, that is so true. Now that you're an entrepreneur, right, you have everything going. I know one of the big things that, you know, you talk about is in the 08 crisis, you know, you had lost everything. You know, what was your first steps, and, you know, when did you realize that you had lost everything, and what was that process? And then how did you start to rebuild and recoup?
Yeah, so here I am, best of what I do, right? Internationally recognized, making money on the magazines and on the committees, doing all the cool stuff. Doing all the cool stuff that wasn't like business, like I should have been doing. I was doing all the fun stuff, being out front. 08 hit, you know, everyone, things are bad. November 5th of 08, day after the election, I lost $500,000 on that day.
Wow.
People canceling contracts, and it just kept going off the cliff, you know, from there. So I'm like, I got done November 5th, at the end of the day. I hang up after talking to the last person. I'm like, I looked at my officer and I go, I think it's over. I think we might be done. And then we tried to limp through part of 09, and I'm like, yeah, this is, you know, I tried some goofy stuff to keep it going and nothing was working. But what really did it for me, Devan, was I had a little epiphany one morning. I have 6 little kids, 4 years and younger, right? At the time, my wife. And I started just thinking about them. I'm like, wow, you know, they love when I come home. My one son was chasing me down the driveway as I'm leaving, crying, you know, and I just keep going because I got to go to work and do the business. And I said, you know, if I stay on this path where business is first, I'm the winner. I'm out front. I'm on the magazine. I said, I'm going to ruin my children's future. They're going to have broken marriages, failed relationships. They're going to think business is everything, and they're going to forget about like the rest of life. And that'll be my fault because more is caught than taught, right? The kids, you can, if what you tell them isn't congruent with what you do, they'll only do what you do. The words will mean nothing. They won't remember the words. They remember what you did. You know, even if that kicks in at 30 years old when they're going through a hard time, you know what I mean? That's what's going to happen. So I got out of bed. I went in the office and said, we're done today. I went to my yard, my construction yard. I told my guys, we're wrapping up this week. We're finished. And these guys have been with me over 10 years. Like we're like family, you know? So it was hard, but I'm like, I can't do this. I realized my identity was wrapped up in my business. It is who I was. Without the shirt, without the hat, I was nobody. So I'm like, well, I'm never doing that again. Nothing's owning me. Okay, so I gave a video of me burning my polo shirts and all my uniforms. I'm burning them in the bonfire in the backyard, you know. So I'm like, never again. And I have not done a water feature or a sculpture, touched a welder in 15 years. You know, wow. So it's all or nothing with me. Don't always recommend that's the way you go. Okay, I'm an odd individual. Like I owned everything, but I sold my equipment and everything. And probably wasn't the best idea. I could have kept some of that, done a little side hustle, here and there, made some way, figured out what I was going to do, but I'm not that way. So I got rid of everything. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, Devin. So like, what do you do? If I can't do that, all my friends are totally bummed out. They can't believe I would quit doing that after 20 years and the best said blah, blah, blah. Right. So I'm like, well, I'm done. I don't want to do anymore. So I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I love training people. I love working out. I love doing all that. I'm really good at it. I built other training programs before. I'll go work at Anytime Fitness. They probably need a trainer. They kind of have trainers, whatever. It's Anytime Fitness. So they did. They had like a subcontractor who did it, but I was the only one. So I built this program there. Well, next you know, I'm trainer of the year. Anytime, I'm like, oh, cool. So, I'm an entrepreneur. So what does that tell me? Oh, time to go open a gym. So I went open a gym, and started that and built that out and everything else. And that was great. Then I started a contracting business, doing roofing, siding, windows, started doing that. Okay. But the key was this time in both of these, I had other people doing the work. I'm like, I'm heading it. I do it. I create stuff. I'm there, but everybody else is doing the work. So I have my time back. Right. So I'm not trapped in it. And that was really great. So I did that, and people started asking me like, well, how'd you do that? Like you're asking, how do you go from that to nothing to that? That's just, for me, just kind of the grace of God, because I had no idea what I was going to do. But if I could choose whatever I wanted, I'm like, I like to train people again. Now I was thinking, let's go to the woods. Let me haul them through the woods and beat them up and have a really, just an incredible experience. But I ended up at the Anytime Fitness. It wasn't quite a complete dream, but it was, it worked. Right. So I did all that. But so that was the thing that when people started seeing it, like, well, ask me how I did it. I started to mentor them in their businesses to help them get it dialed in so they make the same mistakes I did. And then I said, well, I'll write a book. So I wrote Escape the Owner Prison because I saw the patterns, the same patterns, everyone making the same mistakes I did. I saw it everywhere. So I wrote this book to help those people, and then built an academy around it, started coaching program and all that stuff. And it kind of brought me to a couple iterations of that. And now I'm here with Sharpen the Spear.
No,
did I answer the question?
No, yes, you did. Definitely. With a ton of knowledge attached. And I want to dive into what you were saying, with the book, Escape the Owner Prison. You talk about, the owner's prison, right? Is that what you're referring to about being tied to the job, and, being on the covers and all these things and losing, essentially the attachment or, connection with your family or the outside world, essentially?
Yeah. What happens is you end up serving the business doesn't serve you. If I didn't open the door, no business, right? If I didn't place the boulders, no features are being made. I did start getting away from that before we ended, but it was kind of too late. But it's really about not having systems and processes in place that people can operate in, and the business can work without you. It's self-running, right? You can plug people in because people always leave. So you got to get a new person. So build something that's not people dependent. People work in it, but it's not dependent on the best office manager ever, who holds all the keys, all the secrets, and then she disappears one day and you got nothing. Okay. Or you got the incredible salesman who closes everything, right, on his own. He just does. Well, you become a hostage because he's going to tell you what he's going to do because he's the one making all the money for the company, right? So now you're in a hostage situation. You got to give him whatever he wants so he doesn't leave because you don't have a sales system built. You don't have a process and presentations and all that kind of stuff. So I really learned all that and started saying, this is the owner prison. You don't have things like that. You have a bunch of depreciating assets. You're doing things day by day, trying to get to the next payroll cycle, right? Doing that kind of stuff. And you just make a little more and keep going. So that's the owner prison. You go away for 2 weeks on vacation. You're calling in every other day to make sure the place hasn't burned down, right? You can't be present with your family. You might be at that beach, but all you're thinking about is your business because your business is a hot mess, and there's no freedom there at all. There's no balance.
No, definitely, and I agree with you on that. Like, if your business can't run without you, like it's not a business; it's a job. It's not that it doesn't start off that way in the beginning, but you have to be able to scale it at some point. So what are some common mistakes that you see with business owners that, you know, that you've been coaching over the years that they make when it comes to scaling their business?
Well, the first thing is what we just kind of talked about. They don't really have things systemized. And let me give you an example. So if I have a construction business, we build amazing homes or kitchens or whatever we do. Okay, we're really good. We're in this geographic area, right? We do this in our business. Well, let's go open, 4 hours from here. Well, you know what you don't get to take is your people, right? They got to stay there and run that business. But if you don't have systems and processes, you just got lucky and have good people. Who are you going to put in the next location? Because they're not going to come and recreate everything and build a systemized business. So you're not truly duplicatable. That's their first mistake. Okay. Even if they're not going to have another location, they should still be that way, right? So they don't do that, but they also don't delegate properly. Like, think you'll just tell someone else to do it. Well, it doesn't work that way because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do it. They don't even know why they're doing it, right? They don't have training on the how. So we have to build out these lanes for all that stuff, the what, the how, and the training for the how. So those are a couple of the big ones. And then again, they're holding on kind of a death grip. They have this control thing, or no one does the work better than they do. So they really got to be on the job. And I always have to tell them, listen, you're the best. I'm going to give you that. You're the best. You're the best what you do. So if you're telling me I get someone who's 95 or 97% as good as you, you wouldn't let go. I said, you can't train them up that next 5%. I said, and even if you couldn't, I guarantee you 100% your clients won't know the difference. Okay. You see it, you see it, but no one else does. They don't care. The first day I learned that, I left my guys to build a water feature at this house. I couldn't be there. I painted it out, had the waterfall face the door, whatever, on the deck. And they've been with me years. So I came back, I'm coming around the backyard, Devin. The homeowner, the woman of the house, comes out. She's on the deck. She goes, "It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen." And I'm like, I'm free. They don't need me. They don't need me to do this. Hey, I would have put a boulder there and I would have done this, but you don't know. That's what I would have done. And I'm like, that was a really good day. That realized, like, man, these boys need me for like 20 minutes in the morning. Painting on the grass, point this way, do this, rocks are coming. I'll see you. And it was awesome. So I did get to enjoy that for a couple of years. It was pretty good. But yeah, those are some of the main mistakes. And the other mistake is they're not really handling the business end. They're doing tasks and they're doing things, but because they're doing all that, they can't get a bigger picture. They can't see the full chessboard. They're only seeing a couple pieces, and that's where they get hurt the most. They're leaving a lot of money on the table, right? They're losing a lot of profit. They're leaving profit on the table. Okay. They're really having issues because they're too busy doing. Okay. They're not planning. They're not working strategically. They're working tactically. That's it.
No, and I know, like, a lot of people, like you're saying, like, they work in the business and not on the business.
Right.
And, it's one of those things where you built this business from, the ground up, let's say. So you have this emotional attachment to it, and you feel like you can't delegate work because they're not going to do it as good as you. And once you realize that all the work that you're spreading yourself out against, you're giving 10% of your effort here and 10% here. Well, someone else's 70% is way better than your 10% at the end of the day. So I know you just mentioned, strategic, systemizing and stuff. So, like, what are some tactical problem solving, situations that you could do as a new business owner or as a business owner that you can start to create your own strategic, systemization?
Yeah. So we have the strategic and the tactical. Tactical is they're the fires that flare up, the problems when someone comes in your office. So-and-so is mad, or I didn't do this, or we didn't get a delivery or something or whatever. Those are your tactical issues, right? And they want you to come out and fix it. And you go out and you fix it. Okay. That's tactical. But the problem is, the same thing is going to happen 3 weeks later, right? Because you didn't go to the problem. You went to the symptom, right? You're not treating the cause. So systemization is creating a system. Well, why did this happen? Oh, because we didn't call, we didn't double check, we didn't do this, or whatever it is. Well, let's build a system that has to be done in order to make the order and complete it, right? Now you built a system that fire's out forever. Okay. And the next fire, same principle, right? So you're only going to get so many fires in the business. So you start to systemize each one. Pretty soon, no one's coming in your office anymore to ask you for help because you've taught them and now you've overcome those and you've built these systems for it. So that's a key to moving in that right direction. Then your strategy really becomes looking down the road 18 and 24 months. What are we going to do? Where are we going? What kind of market share are we looking to gain? What new innovations are we going to bring to the market with what we do? Right? How does everyone in my company fit into this vision? How do they fit in being a part of this? And they know they're part of it and a critical part of it. So we can create a strategic vision that drives our whole company forward with purpose. So everyone's actually working for purpose. Obviously, they're getting paid. But there's three things. It's purpose, it's recognition, which is quality feedback, and then money, quality pay, right? But purpose is first. So the first thing you do is create everyone to be on the same page, knowing where we're going. Now, it's future cast. It's not what we're doing now. It's what we're going to be doing to achieve the vision. So now they all understand where they're the hero in that journey, right? So they come to work knowing I matter. Like if I'm not here, this doesn't get done. Our outcome, which is more than just making A and delivering it to B, right, has way more meaning. And as a company, they know where they're all going. See, so once you get that going, it becomes a really, really healthy workplace. And you start to, everyone understands where they fit. And like I said before, everyone leaves eventually. But now you can plug them back into that system. They can grab the ball, run to the goalpost. It's great.
No, that's awesome. And I know you've set a goal for yourself, for transforming 10,000 small businesses to positively impact millions of lives. What does that vision really mean to you, and how are you bringing it into life or into fruition?
Yeah. So it's, that's what I want. I want to help 10,000 business owners create profit, freedom, and impact in their business. Right. And this is what that means. Okay. Because well, who doesn't want that? Well, they all want it, but no one gets it. Mm-hmm. That's the problem. There's 32 million small businesses, right? And like 31,900,000 and some thousand don't ever make it. I mean, to the freedom, profit, and impact, right? Because that's the prison. Most people are operating on that hamster wheel. They work hard the first 2 years, and then next, 10 years goes by and they've repeated the first 2 years 5 times, right? They're stuck, right? So what I want to do is I want them to do that. So we come and we help them with systemization. We help them realize full profit. We find a ton of profit they're just leaving on the table. Show them how to generate more revenue without adding money to marketing and ads and stuff like that, right? Do some really unique things. But the goal is to have their people, okay, they can increase in competency, right? So say you got 30 employees. Mm-hmm. We want them competent. We want them really good at what we do. But also we want to build them up as people. We want to make them better as people, because when we make them better as people, where do they take that? To their homes and their families. Where are their families? They're in the communities, right? Mm-hmm. So 10,000 business owners, all their employees, 5 to 50, 500, whatever it is, and their families in the community, we're affecting millions of people with our influence and our the way we live and everything else. So that's my goal. That's the big goal, right? So we just continue one business at a time, and we fix them. We get the next one. We do another one. They talk, right? We get out there. We get this exposure, and we're on our way. It's a good goal. It almost seems small when you think there's 32 million small businesses, but you got to have a number. So I picked 10,000. Okay. And I get there, I'll keep going. Okay. I'll do 20,000, but we're going to get there first. And I want to do it in like 5 years. So I really want to hit this thing really hard, and then we're doing it, which is great. So that's really the goal. Imagine companies where people actually want to work. They have a wait list of resumes on their desk at all times, because that's the place they want to work, and people don't leave. You got to die or retire, and then you can get a job there, or whatever. We got to grow. So it's really cool. And when people like to go to work, which they should, we're built to work. No one should be sitting home watching TV all day, right? Like we're at work, and go and have that purpose, get that recognition for doing a great job or a bad job, and you get corrected, right? That's okay. And then get the quality pay to go with it. Dude, that's a good life for a lot of workers. They're not entrepreneurs. We're that. We're different. That would not satisfy us. 100% would not. I'm a good employee for like 12 months, the best employee you ever have, but then I got to run the company. So I'm, I'm no good at like a year. I see all the problems. So we're just different. But for those people, if we can give them that, that's game changing, life changing stuff for them and their family.
No, that's amazing. So what has your toughest challenge been as a coach? And then how did you overcome it?
Toughest challenge, man, there's just so many. Really, a hard thing to do is firing a client. You ever have to do that?
I've had to fire a
the
client
gym,
before.
right?
Yep.
Personal training, you can get rid of some people who just aren't going to do what they're told.
Yep.
Okay? I'm like, your lack of results affects my reputation.
Yep.
You're fired. You don't want to do it, you're out. So in business is very similar. Now we're dealing with egos and personalities and things like that. So there's times when they're not listening to the coach, or they have their own way. We tell them to do it this way and do it that way. So the challenge is letting someone go, because they're kind of there, but they just can't. The reality is most entrepreneurs are the ones who are in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
They're the problem in almost every business. Okay. We don't like to hear that. Okay.
Right.
But we're always in the way. That's why we get them out of the way. I want them to focus on what we call the 5%. The 5% of the business only they can do. That's the vision. That's reeling in the really big clients, right? That's understanding growth, not doing the accounting or doing the trim carpentry or whatever. Like we don't need them doing that. They're in the way, right? They're causing problems. So I'd say one of the bigger challenges too is really helping clients understand what I do, what I can do for them. In the beginning, that was really difficult because you really didn't have it dialed in. You're like, well, I just help businesses. I've done it. I wrote a book. I got all this, but conveying that message, it's like any good marketing, right? They have to understand. I have to know their pain. Okay. They have to know that you understand their pain, and I need to dig in their pain, right? We know, because they're all suffer from the same thing. So I know what it is. So let's dig into it and let them verbalize it, because they feel it. They haven't verbalized it. Then you get them to verbalize this stuff. And this is the hard part, right? Then they get it and you understand, say, well, I have the solution. And if you do what I'm going to show you and follow me, your outcome's going to be like this. You're going to have freedom. You're going to have the money you want to do things. You're going to make the impact you always wanted to. You're going to be able to do all that. So I understand the pain. You get it. Do you want this outcome over here like this person? And they go, yes. Okay, great. Let's go. Okay. And then we bring them in. But you got to really, we all have pain, right? We all have challenges in our businesses, right? You need to know your customers' challenges. You need to know their real pain. Then you can help them, because if you don't know it, you can't help them, right?
Right.
So don't think just because you're this great coach, people should just know. No, they need to know, the old saying, they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care, right? And digging into someone's pain. I was just talking to a guy earlier today. I said, there's 3 words. Tell me more. Tell me more. They tell you, just tell me more. And they'll just keep going. And you'll pull all that stuff out. And you need to hear that. You need to understand it, because your solution will address it. But once they verbalize their pain, you're in. Now you can do real work. You can really help them. Right. So that's kind of how I look at it.
No, that's awesome. I think that is so true. And I think it is important that when, you're saying, tell me more. I mean, that's one of the things that we do with, at our gym with our trainers too, like ask the questions and then ask them, okay, can you explain that? And then people love to talk, about themselves, or, I try to compare it to a date, right? If you take a girl out or a guy out on a date, right, and you're asking them questions, they're talking about themselves. You may not have said anything really about you. When they leave that date, all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh my goodness, that was such a great date. And, X, Y, and Z and so forth. But yet, it was just them talking. Right. Yep. So how do you keep yourself motivated while juggling these different, hats that you wear as a husband, a father, a coach? I mean, I know the coaching aspect is, difficult and can be draining, and it's its own, reality as well. But then, and as an entrepreneur, because you are, running a business as well.
Yeah, it's I think it really comes down to delegation. It's really putting the right people in the right places, and a big problem, Devin, is people hire too quickly. they don't take the time to really know who's they're bringing on the team. So we have a very extensive vetting process on who exactly. It's all written out. I have a whole strategic vision. It's like 14 pages long. Like for the coaching company, like you have to read that first, right? So I'm like, you read this, and it tells you everything that's here, and you can tell me if you're interested, and I'll ask you where you see yourself fitting, and stuff like that. So that's a big part of it, but you have to be super intentional, man. I know it's not easy to be intentional on 5 or 6 things, so you really nail it down, right? So we do the business, I understand, and I get it running itself, right, with the right people, systems, and processes. Then I got the 5 F's. You know what those are? Did we talk about those?
No, we didn't talk about those. The faith, family, and fitness.
Yes. Yes. Are we saving that for later?
No. We can dive into it. Your 5 pillars. Let's dive in.
So it's there's 5 F's. There's faith, family, finance, fitness, and friendships. Okay, that's when people talk about work-life balance. Those are the 5 things you need to balance, right? Mm-hmm. And work. So the problem is if your business is a hot mess, none of the 5 F's can happen because you will always be in your mind. You could be in bed at 10 o'clock at night. You're thinking about who's not going to show up tomorrow, what's broken, why didn't we get this right? Because you're the man or woman who's got to run the deal, right? So until that's fixed, you can't look at the 5 F's. But when you do have it fixed and now you can focus on that, there's your balance, right? And it doesn't mean it's all equal. Balance isn't equal, mm-hmm. Okay, because they have different priorities, right? But they're not ignored. My faith, I say it first because it's my number one priority. My family's next, right? And in my family, it's my wife, then my children. Mm-hmm. That's the priority. The kids don't come before my wife.
Right.
Okay. And then finance, got to pay attention to your money. Got to make it work. Got to do things right. That's security, right? Mm-hmm. And then your fitness, work out every morning, right? I'm up at 4 a.m., doing my whole thing. 5:30, I'm to the gym. I put in a good workout, right? I got to be fit. If you're not fit, you're not fit to lead. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's kind of one of the little mantras we have around here. But fit is not just physical either. Okay, right. You got your nutritional aspect, you got your mind. Are you able to handle this kind of work, this kind of workload, the stress or lack of stress or whatever it might be? Can you handle it? And then you get into your friendships, right? Now I have just a couple. I have good friend trench buddies, right? Guys who got my 6 all the time. Really, really important, right? I don't need 65 friends.
Right.
Okay. I don't need Facebook. Okay. Mm-hmm. I just need a couple guys who will go to the mat for me. That's all I need because that's my release.
Right. I
can hang out with them. We can talk. We can share stuff. We're kind of in the same world, if you will. So you need those. So as we work through that stuff, you start going, wow, that gives me categories. It gives me direction to focus on. I can dedicate time for that. They're in priority, right? I understand where they fit in the life along with the business. And that's kind of how you put it all together. It's not overnight. It's a process, especially depending on where your business is, right now, how big it is, how small it is, how new or old it is, whatever that under new ownership, whatever it is, we have to understand if you can't fix that, you can't do the others. So you have to prioritize the business to free you from it. Now you can start balance. But until you do that, don't even consider the other 5.
No, definitely. And honestly, I love the 5 F's and like how you break that down because it is so true, right? And you have to have that balance. Everyone talks about a work-life balance and everyone has their own take on it, but it really comes down to those core 5. Right. And I liked what you said, being fit doesn't necessarily mean just physically or looking like the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, something like that. Right. There's different aspects of fit or different aspects of finances or your financial, comfort. Right. So again, you have to find out what works for you, what your goals are, and then really make sure you're honing in and focusing on those pillars in order from most important to, not as important, but still important. Now, before we wrap up a little bit, I like to ask this question, and I don't email this question out or let you guys know ahead of time because I want the truest answer that is first to mind, right? So you have a legacy wall, right? And on this legacy wall of Richard Walsh, you get to leave one message, right? And the message could be anything you've learned from your entrepreneurial experience, from the Marine Corps, from your martial arts or boxing, right? But anything that you would like to leave for the listeners and the up and coming generations, to really basically feel like they're getting stuck, how to become their own version of the new them. How do they get out of their own owner prison, right? What would that legacy wall message be?
I can do it in 3 words. You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do hard things. They'll solve all your problems.
So honestly, I really like that one. Explain it a little bit for the listeners.
So we always need to be doing hard things. Again, it's relative, right? Doesn't mean it has to be physical. It could be, I get too much joy out of that, so it doesn't count for me. Okay. I'd love to suffer and, experience that stuff. But for me, it's like, computer stuff or stuff in the business, whatever. But understand that when you do a hard thing, you become uncomfortable because it's difficult. Because if you've never done something and it's difficult, we all start at the same place, and that's awful. We're awful. And then we graduate up from there, right? So regardless of what it is, how big it is, how small it is, once you accomplish a hard thing, that's time under tension, right? You build muscle. Now let's do another hard thing, a little bigger hard thing. And you keep going, and that propels you forward because that spills into your life. And that confidence you're creating by doing hard things goes into your business. Well, this isn't that bad. I can do that. I mean, this is a lot worse, I encourage people to read books like, I don't know, Shackleton, guy stuck on the ice for 2 years, guys who do incredibly hard things, difficult things they had to overcome and do. Read those books. So when you're whining about like your internet doesn't work or something, like you can kind of put things in perspective. Okay. Right. I'm not living on the Antarctic ice for 2 years, wiping my butt with ice chips. Okay. Like just let's put things in perspective. Okay. You got like a hiccup over here. This is nothing. Okay. Get it done. Right. So we want to make sure that we're doing hard things on the regular, not once a year. And I'm talking it again, doesn't have to be, I only need to run a ultra marathon or, just, it could be, but do those hard things.
No, I like that a lot. Where can people connect with you or learn more about your coaching if they're running a small business? Where would they find you at?
SharpenTheSpearCoaching.com.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you guys took anything away, which I know you're lying if you said you didn't, this was filled with knowledge. Make sure you guys share this with a friend. Make sure you guys leave us that 5-star review. It really does help us out and help other people discover us. But Richard, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to come on and drop some knowledge for the Mindset Cafe.
Well, Devan, thanks, man. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. I appreciate all the questions. It's great.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. 'Cause in the game of life, mindset causes stress. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to be slack.